Hi, this is Robotics for Students and I'm your host Kiril. Today I'm joined by Will. Will, a brief introduction of you.
Yep, I'm Will Wong. I'm part of the national organization team for World Robot Olympiad USA.
Well, our goal today was to jump on a call with Phil and to discuss one of the questions that we see ourselves answering a lot. So in the last couple of years, 2-3 years, there's been a change in the robots that we use to participate in World Robot Olympiad. And previously the robots were EV3, LEGO Mindstorms EV3, but then two new robots were introduced, LEGO Mindstorms Robot Inventor along with LEGO Education Spike Prime. And recently both Mindstorms and Robot Inventor were discontinued and now we have only the Spike Prime. How do you think, what will be the impact on the competition? What do you think would be the best robot for the competition in this season, the next season?
Well, I hate to say it this way, but it depends. So it depends on what you're doing. So let's just look at the World Robot Olympiad Robo Mission categories, okay? So the categories, are divided into age groups. So we have the elementary, which is 8 to 12-year-old, the junior, which is 13 to 15-year-old, and the senior, which is high school ages. So if you're looking at the elementary for 2023, I would say this. Looking at the EV3 versus the Spike, the biggest difference is the number of ports that you have, right? So you look at the six ports on the Spike Prime, which could be hybrid ports, could be either a combination of motors and sensors, but EV3 has 4 static motors and 4 static sensor ports, right? Elementary, if you're looking at it, may not need all 8 ports, but I think if you're doing the junior category, you may need the extra ports because you need to read the index blocks, and then you also need to do line following, and then you also need to detect where the broken cable is on the junior one. So if you understand the rules, you'll know what I'm talking about. But those are the things you need to think about when you're deciding if you have the choice. Now, if you still have your EV3, it's still a very viable robot. It's still very good. The only the couple things, but what I do like about the Spike Prime is the built-in gyro sensor.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Yeah. So the gyro sensor works very well, and if you know how to use it and program with it, it helps out a lot with positioning your robot for certain things, right? So for turns, for moving, so the gyro sensor is very good. The Spike Prime also has very good sensors. So if you look at the light sensor, if you look at the range of the light sensor, it's a little further away than it can read, I think, I haven't measured it, but it's, let's just say 3 inches away, okay? And I'm using inches because I'm here in America. But but if you look at the EV3, you have to be a little closer to do a good reading, I guess you could say.
Yes.
So there's sensor differences, there's port differences, there's also a cost. If you have an EV3 and you're thinking about going to Spike, is it really worth it to spend that extra money? So you got to consider all those factors and look at the rules of your game and decide what's best for you.
Exactly. Now, EV3 was discontinued in 2021, I think, June 2021. So there are still a lot of robots available, and if you have them, you can of course use them. Last finals of the World Robot Olympiad, there were a lot of teams with EV3. In
teams,
generally. I'm not sure about the percentage, but if I say 70-80% of the teams were with EV3. So it's still a very viable robot and it's still used a lot by a lot of teams. In the same
Yeah,
time,
definitely. It's still a good robot. Yeah.
the future is probably Spike. The future is probably Spike because
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you have new teams coming in. You'll have EV3s start breaking down. Of course, yeah, you'll have that. But the eventual turnover um, won't be happening for a few years. I think you'll see more and more spikes in the future. But for now, EV3s are still very good.
the other thing that I noticed is yes, we have the EV3 and we have the 8 ports, but it's difficult to get the old version of the software, and it's mostly Scratch now. So you can program for LEGO Education Spike Prime, and you can use the Scratch version of the software, and you can do this for the EV3s. But for the EV3, just the Scratch version is a little limited. Have you seen this, Will?
Yeah, it's hard to work with. I mean, personally, I do a lot of teaching. I try to avoid the EV3 classroom myself because it is limited. It is glitchy. The Bluetooth connection is very hard to navigate through, especially if you have a lot of robots. It's just very hard to work with.
Yes.
So
You mentioned that you were teaching.
Yeah.
Tell us more
Yeah.
about your teaching experience.
Okay. So I started up an after-school program here in the Chicago area. I have classes at schools, at clubs, at my center here in Naperville. We probably teach, I don't know, 300, 400 kids a week right now, with all the classes and what we do. Most of it is robotics. That's our sweet spot, but we still teach some engineering, some coding, a little Minecraft here and there. So we're still doing a lot of, I guess, STEM stuff to help kids along and inspire kids in STEM.
And I guess you are based mostly on EV3 with some new spikes that are coming along.
Yeah, I mean, my inventory, I say it this way, I still have, I don't know, 60 to 80 EV3s, in my inventory. So, there's no reason for me to turn over. I mean, I buy spikes every once in a while now because my competition teams need them. So again, I mentor teams, I sponsor teams, I coach teams. I've coached 8 national champions in World Robot Olympiad. So my teams have been very successful, but we're still using both EV3 and spikes depending on the team.
What do you think about the consistency and the reliability of the robots when you try to accomplish a mission with EV3 and you try to accomplish a similar mission with Spike? Which one is easier? Which one is more consistent and reliable?
I would say the Spike's a little bit more consistent, just because you can use those sensors a little better. But you still need to do what we call error correction, right? You still need to. They're both Lego robots, and the Lego robots aren't, professional precision robot, tools. You tell it to move 10 inches or 10 centimeters, it's always 10.1 or 9.9 sometimes, right? You don't know, right? So you have to either one. You still have to, figure out where you are and how to correct yourself.
Yes, exactly. What do you think about the change to Scratch? We've seen a lot of different experiments that LEGO did. There was a push for Python a little bit. There was the EV3 software, which was based on a really nice software from National Instruments, which was working really well. We had things like
LabVIEW, yep.
The LabVIEW. We had arrays there. We had a lot of different interesting things, and now it's all Scratch based. What do you think about this direction that we are going?
So, I like Scratch. I think it's a nice platform to use. I use it to teach coding. So when I have kids doing robotics, they say, "Oh, it's Scratch, but Scratch for robots." So it's very familiar. The concepts are the same, right? If you're doing coding on Scratch, if you're doing it on LabVIEW, it's all, a lot of the concepts are the same. It's just, it looks different, right? There may be some subtle differences if you really get into it, but I think Scratch is a good solid platform to use, and it's been pretty good. And what works really nice is it works good on a tablet as well. A lot of kids today have tablets. There's a web version of Scratch, right? The Scratch software. So there's a little bit more flexibility than the lab view, right? So I think that's also nice to have.
Yes, we stumbled upon, and I'm mentioning this here for teams that are now starting in the competition. There was a Scratch version 2 for the software for Spike, and LEGO recently released version 3. So version 3 is not compatible with version 2. So if you try to open the same programs that you have with Scratch version 2, they won't open with Scratch version 3. So it's like, and we had teams come up and they like prepare the whole program, and then they update, and they come and they try to open, and the program is not working. So
if you're starting new, Scratch 3 is just fine, right? Because you don't have any old programs.
Exactly.
So I tell my teams that if you're still working on your programs in Scratch 2 and you still need them, don't upgrade yet. So there is a way that you can still download Scratch 2, which they call it Spike Legacy, right? So if you do a search for the Spike Legacy app or software, you still can find it online to download. So you still can use the 2.0 version if you need to.
You mentioned upgrades, and this is also a question that comes up quite frequently. Let's say that you are a mentor, you are a coach, you are preparing for World Robot Olympiad, you want to participate. Apart from the robot and the set, do you think that teams need more parts, more sensors, or the set should be enough?
Okay, so when I'm telling teams to, get prepared, parents always come to me, teachers come to me, say, what do I need to do to get ready for this? The core set is good. It has, a sensor, some motors, but I will say this, I always tell teams to buy the expansion kit for, here in the States, it's $130 US dollars. But what you get is the motor. I think you get 2 extra motors, like a large and a medium, which if you buy them standalone, they're $30 each. Plus you get another 600 parts, including another sensor. So it's well worth the investment to get the expansion kit, because you're going to need those extra sensors and extra motors. And there's one part that you actually need, which is that little ball, that pivot ball.
Oh, yes.
And some teams need that extra pivot ball to put on their robot. So those extra parts are well worth the investment for the expansion kit.
And apart from the expansion kit, do you go and buy additional parts from different marketplaces for LEGO? Yeah, we do go to some of those third party, like Brick Owl or something like that sometimes. But for the most part, for me, I've accumulated so many LEGO and Technic parts over the years that we don't need to. But I know, teams that are just starting out, you may need to, look online for specialty parts. Is there anything that's not allowed as parts in World Robot Olympiad? I can't think of, but I think that as long as it's LEGO.
Just as long as it's LEGO, made by LEGO, and it can't be, knockoff LEGO. They have to be just LEGO parts. So we've seen some LEGO specialty parts, some LEGO weights. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're weighted bricks used in the competition. They're actually, yeah. And the reason why we use those is the Spike Prime is a light robot. So sometimes if it doesn't have enough weight, it doesn't have enough traction. So you have to weight it down with some weighted blocks too. So I've seen all different types of designs, but you can use, as long as it's any LEGO part. And we're talking about for Robo Mission, for us, for Robo Sport, and those two are the ones that you need to have the LEGO. The other categories don't need to use LEGO, so we don't have to worry about that.
You mentioned the categories. Now I don't want to distract us from the main topic, which was LEGO Education Spike Prime versus EV3 and what we think about it. But as a teaser for probably our next meeting, could you tell us more about the competition? It just started like last month. There are 4 categories, 5, and it will be interesting to hear your thoughts. To introduce us.
Yeah, so it's an exciting season, right? I'll start backwards, meaning our international final this year. It always rotates. This year it's going to be in Panama. Or it's like second week in November, so that's exciting to go to not Central America, sorry, and so there are different categories that you can do with WRO. Robo Mission is our most popular, right? Robo Mission is a tabletop task-based competition where your robots have to complete tasks. Right? There's Robo Sport, which is basically a 2v2 sporting match, and this year again we're repeating tennis. We also have the Future Innovator category, which is totally different. It's more of a presentation-based competition where you actually have to develop an idea and present it, and also create a prototype or like a demo of your idea to a panel of judges. So that's a little different. I call it like Shark Tank. I don't know if you have that in where you are, but it's Shark Tank for kids.
Yes,
they have to sell their idea. I mean, they
but
literally have to sell their idea. Then there's the Future Engineers, which is really cool. We're really getting into it this year, which is really an AI car competition, right? So it's really having a car programmed, and it's on the high school level. So we're really trying to get into that as well. So those are our categories. Age groups anywhere from typically from 8 to high school, but we do have a new starter category in the Robo Mission for WeDo category. Now, we call it the WeDo category because you can use a WeDo, or the LEGO Essential, which we haven't talked about. But that is a special competition that only is existing in. Okay, that's a little confusing, but I mentioned Panama, but there is also a Denmark friendly invitational in September, and that one is accepting teams in this new WeDo age group, which is 6 to 10-year-olds. So if you're just getting into it, Robo Mission's a little too hard for you as an 8-year-old maybe, or 7-year-old, or even a 9-year-old. Maybe the starter competition is a great place to start, and you can maybe target going to Denmark if you want to try to get there. So yeah, and I do have teams. I have teams saying that they would love to do that. So yeah, those are our categories. Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to get into more details about the competition with you in some future installments of our podcast. For now. Our goal was to discuss LEGO education, Spike Prime, along with EV3. I hope that all of you that are listening, watching to us, got a little bit of idea and comments from both me, Kiril, and Will about what could be the best approach, which one should you buy, should you invest, and what do you need for the competition. And hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next installment. Bye, guys.
Thank you.